Hey, Slaunch, how you do, buckaroos? How the heck are you as we approach that time of year? Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Festivus, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Hey, man, I hope you're doing all right. It's a tough time of year for a lot of folks. I've got a couple of cocktails I want to have with you. And quite frankly, I'm trying to decide where I want to start because I've got them both ready here. So I'm going to start with this one, though. I'm using the Watershed Distillery straight bourbon whiskey finished in apple brandy barrels. It's 4 years old at 90 proof. Let me show you that bottle. So I used about 2 ounces of that, some homemade cranberry simple syrup. I use cranberries. Anyway, did the thing, equal parts raw sugar, water, you know the drill, right? And then I added these. Where did I put them? Oh, there they are. Cranberry bitters. Cranberry bitters are very interesting because they are blood red. They look like fake blood, man. Anyway, and then the garnish I've used is just a candy cane to make it a holiday kind of thing. Where I'm calling it frosted cranberry. It's toying with a lot of different names. I was thinking Candy Cane Lane, Christmas Cheer. Anyway, it's good. Not a big cranberry guy, but I wanted to come up with something using cranberries. I was trying to develop a cocktail for work, so when I do that, I ask folks what they're looking for. I'm not necessarily looking for things that are for me, and I think that's why a lot of folks or where a lot of places go wrong. They don't get out of their way. You got to ask questions. Bring in what the folks want and not necessarily what you like. But I kind of like the addition of the candy cane because it just adds a little something to this cocktail. I'm not adding peppermint to this cocktail, but I'm adding that candy cane. So the longer that candy cane sits in there, it does add these peppermint notes. And it also adds to the aromatics. I can actually smell or smell peppermint now. Uh, I'm very excited at the moment. I just got a copy of the brand new The Ring magazine. It went out of print it'd been available online only up until recently, and it's recently gone back into print, I should say. And I met the editor a few weeks back. It turns out he's the brother of a good friend of mine, and I told him a personal story about why that magazine. When he mentioned it like he was telling folks that they may not know. It's I'm a big fan of that magazine. And I told him why, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to send you a copy," and he did. By golly, I was so excited when that got here today. Oh gosh. I didn't know it was coming, and then my wife brings it in. She says, "You got some package coming in," and I looked at it. Scuff, or I don't want to mention the name, but anyway, uh, when I saw the name of it, I knew exactly what that package was. So I'm torn right now. I'm going to at some point because I'm not a guy that collects anything, but it's got it's in plastic, so it's like a collector's edition. And I know most people would just put it up on their shelves or behind a glass case somewhere and never open it. But I'm not really that guy, right? And I'm dying to read it. But because it is that way, I'm not going to open it right away. I'll probably wait a few days, maybe a week or so. But at some point, yeah, it's going to get opened. It's going to get read. And it's going to end up on the coffee table because I'm not but he sent it to me like a collector's edition, so I want to give it that reverence, right? And I want to appreciate that. But he also sent this to me knowing I'm a fan of the magazine, so I've got to look at it. I've got to read it. I've got to read the articles. I've got to look at the pictures, man. I've got to appreciate the whole thing and not just the cover. So anyway. I'm really excited. I mean, I was never a boxer, so I don't want to give that impression. But Boxing was one of the very few things, or watching boxing was one of the very few things my dad and I had to talk about for a very long time. And we loved watching boxing, and my youngest brother and I as well, especially through the 70s and 80s and up to maybe the mid 90s. Um, when we lost, when my dad passed away in '98, I kind of quit watching boxing as a whole. I'd watch a match here and there, but it was never quite the same. But having this magazine just really just sparked a lot. In fact, there's a lot of emotion right now that I haven't quite processed. If you want to know the truth, I'm just so excited about that magazine. I want to read it really bad, but I also know that he sent it to me in sealed plastic, so it's kind of meant as a collector's edition. So I don't want him to. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't want him to think that I'm not appreciating it, but I really want to appreciate it by reading it and not putting it up in a cabinet somewhere and say, hey, look what somebody sent me. I want to read that magazine. I want to, I want it to look like it's been used. It's not going to just, we're not going to be, Anyways, wow, I'm really excited. I felt like I had to come up with a cranberry cocktail because it's, that time of the year, it's Christmas time. We got to have a cranberry something. I'm not a fan of cranberries, so I want to make that real clear. That's why this cocktail wasn't necessarily for me or for anybody. It was just that I felt like it was a moral imperative to come up with a cranberry cocktail. It's a moral imperative, man. And quite frankly, that's how I come up with a lot of the cocktails. It's not necessarily stuff that I'm looking for. It's just an idea. If I get an idea, oh, I wonder if this is going to work. So then I've got to follow that through. I have to, my mind won't let me let it go. I have to ride it till the wheels fall off. Or till I reach my destination, whichever comes first. I got to keep going. I got to follow that idea right to the end. I don't have that ability not to. Uh, but I was wondering. I didn't know what garnish to use with this. Cranberry. So then, well, let's just make it Christmas and put a candy cane in here. And I really like the way it works because that little bit of mint offsets that sweet tart that the cranberry has. Uh, well, I like coming up with new cocktails. It really, I mean, it's kind of it has me invigorated as an old man. Now I'm doing something different in my old age. I'm trying to be creative and not just coming up with stuff for me in my kitchen, but putting stuff together for work that I know the folks coming in would like. Whether I would or not is irrelevant, to be honest with you. But I gotta tell you, that is delicious. That's nice. So the next cocktail, I don't have an official thing yet. I'm kind of working on it. But we had some hazelnuts. So I made a hazelnut simple. And then I don't have a chocolate liqueur. Or if I had some like cream de cocoa, I would have used. But I had these. I had some cocoa bitters. So basically, what I've done here is I've used this whiskey, the Hard Truth High Road Rye, straight rye whiskey at 93 proof. This stuff is incredible, just a great rye. So it's sort of an old fashioned of sorts, but I have it served straight up more like a cordial. So I've got about 2 ounces of the whiskey. I've got 1 ounce of my Hazelnut Simple, and then a few dashes of those cocoa bitters just to give it that chocolate note. I don't have a good name for it yet, so I'm going to work on that. I was thinking chocolate nutty, but some folks might take that a different direction. that could be misconstrued, Tom, if you call it a chocolate nutty. Anyway, it's a kind of Nutella kind of vibe, but obviously I can't use that word. I probably need to buy some. I've been thinking it for quite a while. In fact, several years, to be honest with you. They just don't buy it. But I probably need to have some cream de cocoa on hand. I just don't. I don't buy a lot of liqueurs and extra things. I keep my bar pretty simple. It's really about the main ingredient, right? I want to have the right whiskey, the right gin, the right vodka, but the other stuff I don't buy. But I really need to, especially if I'm going to get in this game in a great big way. There are some other chocolate liqueurs out there I'm thinking about, but cream de cocoa is kind of that standard you need to have, so I probably ought to buy some just to add that extra chocolate note to the cocktail. But to be honest with you, for me, it's enough chocolate just using those cocoa bitters because you really get it in the aromatics, not necessarily on the flavor, but the aromatics really bring it home what it is. And I never want to outshine the whiskey. Every time I put a cocktail together, I want to make sure the ingredients I add are lifting the whiskey up and not overshadowing it. And the garnish. Well, yeah, I got to work on the garnish. So I just put a dark cherry down there because that's what I have. I figured, chocolate, hazelnut, cherry kind of works too. I was kind of channeling cherry mash, even though cherry mash uses peanuts, but a better version of a cherry mash would use hazelnuts, right? So I was kind of thinking that. But I'm a big dark chocolate guy. I love dark chocolate, so I think if I could maybe do some, I was thinking of having my wife buy a big dark chocolate bar, and I could cut off a nice stick and lay in there. And then she says, "Well, curls would look nicer." I thought, yeah, she's right. But I don't have that ability to do chocolate curls. I'm not that talented. But she's right. If I could do a nice big chocolate curl on top of the drink, that'd be gorgeous. So if at some point I figure that out, or I can get her to do it for me, I will show you that cocktail. But for now, this is what we have. But for me, a lot of it is just okay. I have the idea. Let's work with what I have, and then we'll see what I need to bring in. That's kind of where I am at this point with both cocktails. Is okay. I have this. This is a good starting point. What do I need? What do I need to add to make these cocktails complete or a little better? In all honesty, I kind of like this one as is for me. For me, but if I'm trying to market this for other folks, it might be better if I had that chocolate garnish, that chocolate liqueur. But for me, I like the cherry mash kind of idea. My dad loved the cherry mash. He would hate this cocktail, mostly because he didn't like cocktails. No, I would love to be able to give this to my dad. I really would. But Dad drank his whiskey a very specific way. You drink it with water. When I say with water, what I mean is he would fill a glass up with ice. He would pour the whiskey in there up to there's about this much left, and he would put it under the tap and do this. But put that splash of water in there. That's when I say he drinks it with water. That's what it. It wasn't a lot of water. It wasn't even an ounce of water. It was just like, yeah, just the idea that water might get in that glass. And that's how we drank it. And I never saw him drink anything else. I mean, he would drink Jim Beam in water. He would drink Jack Daniels in water. He would drink Wild Turkey in water. But I never said, "Hey, you know what sounds good to me? A cocktail." Yeah, no, that wasn't Dad. But having said that, I wish he was here right now so I could give him this cocktail, just so he could tell me how awful it was. I'm so disappointed in you, son. What the hell is that? Why did you put all that crap in that whiskey? Just to hear that would be worth it for me. His disapproval would be approval for me. What the hell were you thinking, son? No, but having said that, he would say it in, I said disapproving, but he would say it disapproving in an approving sort of way. If that makes any sense to anybody that's not Gen X. No, I mean, it was a different time. You didn't, my dad was that greatest generation, that World War II generation. Those folks did not heap praise upon you. When they did praise you, it was done in such a way where they had to almost insult you first and then give you that little bit. Right? This is like the worst thing I've ever had, son, but I can see why you did that. but other people might like it. Might be more of what he would say. But I can see other people liking it. It was a different time, man. Then my wife, my wife doesn't necessarily approve, or she's not a cocktail drinker per se, but she'll try to give me these little compliments, because she's very approving of the direction I'm going. But for folks like us, sometimes it's hard to accept praise when we've been used to this. Anyways, I digress. Yeah, so first cocktail, Cranberry Simple. Second cocktail, we're using a Hazelnut Simple. I am Tom the Whiskey Whisperer, Whiskey Evangelist, prolific whiskey drinker, purveyor of wisdom, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Merry Festivus, Happy Hanukkah, Mazel Tov. Anyway, whenever you're celebrating this time of year, I hope everything is going well for you and your family. If you're someone that needs support, I hope you can find that support system out there. One more time, I'm feeling, you know who I am. We're going to skip to the end. All around good guy. Sláinte and Merry Christmas.